Let's get started with today's class. We'll see the next slide. Okay. Today we are going to be learning what are indirect proofs. Okay. We saw a method where we used to prove using two-column proof. But in this class we will see how to prove using indirect proof. Instead of reasoning directly from the given information, we instead work backwards. We work backwards from what we want to prove. Okay, uh, and these are the steps which we use to prove some of the statements using indirect proof. So the first step is we identify the statement that we want to prove. Then second step is we assume temporarily that the statement that we want to prove is false. We assume that the statement which we want to prove is false, and using reasoning we show that what we assumed is a contradiction. Okay, whatever we assumed in the second step, we show that it is a contradiction. Okay, and in the fourth step, once we show that the assumption is a contradiction, we can say in the fourth step that the contradiction proves that the temporary assumption was false, so the statement we want to prove must be true. Okay, just take a look at it, and in case you want to note, I'll give you like 30 to 40 seconds or a minute. I'll give you like a minute. Go over these steps. I will show you few problems how to write the indirect proofs, and then I'll give you a chance to work on the indirect proofs. Okay, you have like a minute to note down the steps involved in the indirect proof. Let's move on to our next slide. Prove using indirect proof that the two acute angles of a right triangle must be complementary. Okay, we want to prove that the two acute angles, okay, these two acute angles, if we have a right triangle, then these two acute angles must be complementary. That's what we want to prove. So first step, we always assume what we want to prove to be false. Okay, first step, if you see in the previous slide, identify the statement that you want to prove. So we have identified, this is your, we want to prove that two acute angles are right of a right triangle are complementary. That's our first step. We have identified what we want to prove. And in the second step, we have to assume whatever we want to prove to be false. So I'll just take this to be false. Assume two acute are not complementary. Okay, then next step. Use reasoning to show that that produces a contradiction. Okay, this was our second step, and in third step we will show, we will have several things which will end up showing that this particular assumption is false. So we will start with this particular triangle. So assume this triangle. Okay, sum of angles in triangle is 180 degrees. In a right triangle is also 180 degrees. So these two are the acute angles and this is a 90 degree, and sum of all the angles in this particular triangle is 180 degrees. Okay, if you want a particular example, you can just take a particular example and prove using that. But I'm just writing in general. I'm not taking this angle A or angle B and angle C. I'm not doing in that. I'm just writing a general proof here. So sum of angles in a right triangle is 180 degrees. This is first sub section of the third step. I haven't still proved that the assumption is false. So next I will say if sum of angles in a right triangle is 180 degree, subtracting the right angle is nothing but, we know from definition of right triangle, one of the angle is right angle. So we can say that to be let's generalize this to a particular example, telling that, so if I have measure of angle A plus measure of angle B plus measure of angle C equals 180 degrees. Okay. Okay, assume here B is the right angle. So angle B is 90 degrees. Subtract 90 degrees from both sides. So measure of angle A plus 90 degrees plus measure of angle C equals 180 degrees. Okay, subtracting 90 degrees from both sides, I get measure of angle A plus measure of angle C equals 90 degrees. Okay, so I will have sum of two acute angles equals 90 degrees. So we get, which implies sum of two acute angles is 90 degrees. So from a specific example, we are moving into general here. Here from general we went into specific, then we went from specific with the figure, we went back to general. Sum of two acute angles is 90 degrees. That's what we got in right triangle. So therefore our assumption was false, and we can see what we had assumed. We had assumed that sum of acute angle is not, the two acute angles of a right triangles are not complementary, which means they should not add up to 90 degrees. But we got here the sum of two acute angles is a 90 degree in a right triangle. So we got the contradiction. We have a contradiction. So we can say we have contradiction and conclude in our fourth step. We have contradiction. And if you go back to the previous slide, you can see here it says for the fourth step, state that the contradiction proves that the temporary assumption was false, so the statement we want to prove must be true. So I can conclude here in this particular step, fourth step, that our assumption that acute angles in triangles are complementary is false. Hence, the acute angles in triangles are complementary. in a right triangle to be more precise. Okay, writing proofs in this particular manner is called as the indirect proof. Okay, we had seen a two-column proof. We are seeing the next method, which is indirect proof. So first step is always to find what we have to prove. So prove using indirect proof that the two acute angles. This was our first step. We found this was our first step. We have to find what we have to prove. Second step, we assume whatever we have to prove to be false. In the third step, we use various reasonings. We move from generalized to specific or whatever way is comfortable and prove that our assumption is false and it's a contradiction that we have. And in fourth step, we make the conclusion that whatever our assumption is false, and hence by contradiction we can say that the uh, correct proof, hence we can say the statement that we have to prove is proved by contradiction. Okay, in the fourth step. Okay, we'll see some more problems of this step. Let's see the next slide. But before that, I'll give you like a minute or so to just go over this, and after that we will move to the next slide. Okay, let's continue to the next slide. We will see some more problems of this type. Prove using indirect proof that an odd number cannot be divisible by 6. Okay, we have to prove using indirect proof that an odd number cannot be divisible by 6. So the first step is always to identify what we have to prove. We have to prove this one. That's our first step. Second step, we have to assume whatever we have to prove is false. Assume that odd numbers are divisible by 6. In the third step, we use reasoning and we show that our assumption is false, or we have a contradiction. That's what we have to show in the third step. We know that odd number is not divisible by 2. It's an odd number. If it is an odd number, then it is not divisible by 2. We know that, okay. And we also know that if a number is divisible by 6, then it is divisible by its factors. And the factors of 6 are nothing but 2 and 3. 2 and 3 are factors of 6. So from this statement we should have 2 to be we should have 2 as, if it is an odd number, then it shouldn't be divisible by 2. That's what is the required thing, but we are getting here 2 will become the one of the factor if we had here. So in the subsection of the third, fourth step, I can say that if a number is divisible by 6, then it is divisible by 2 also because of this previous step. And odd numbers are not divisible by 2, hence we have a contradiction. We have a contradiction. Okay. So in the third step, we assume that if in the second step, we assume that if an odd number, if it is an odd number, then it is not. If assume that the odd numbers are divisible by 6. And in the third step, we proved, or we went to reason out to show that that particular assumption is false. So we can say in the fourth step, odd numbers are not divisible by 6. Okay, once again, if you want to note down or if you just want to spend time on this particular slide, I'll show the third step basically for a while. Okay, you have like 30 seconds. Let's see the next slide. Okay, we have done 2 of the proofs using indirect proof, not by 2 column. We can prove this even using 2 column. Okay, just to recollect. Okay, I've done 2 of the proofs. To recollect, we had studied in the previous class the triangle centers and special points. Okay, we had studied triangle centers and special points. Okay. Okay, we had seen triangle centers and of various special segments. We will just recollect that, then I'll give you time to work on the review once again. So first we saw what was the centroid. The centroid of a triangle is constructed by taking triangle and connecting the midpoints of the legs. So when we have a centroid such it's got whenever we connect the medians, whenever the medians meet. Medians are nothing but the special segment which cuts the two line segment, which cuts the this particular side into two equal halves. So all these are the medians. The dashed lines are the median, and the point of intersection is the centroid. Okay, the centroid of triangle is constructed taking any given triangle, connecting the midpoints of each legs of the triangle to the opposite vertex. Okay. The line segment created connecting these points is called as the median, which you have three medians and the point of intersection is centroid. So we saw that one, and then we saw the next type, the circumcenter. For circumcenter is nothing but a point of intersection of the perpendicular bisectors, right? It's the point of intersection of perpendicular bisectors. What are the perpendicular bisectors? Perpendicular bisectors are the line segments which are perpendicular to the given line segment, and they divide the line or the side into two equal halves. So this has to be 90 degrees and these two should be equal. Then we call this as a perpendicular bisector. Okay, the circumcenter is the center of circle that all the vertices of circle are at the same distance from the circumcenter, and the property of the circumcenter is that its location from the vertices is equal. From all these three vertices is equal, and you can draw a circle using this as the center point. Okay, thus the circumcenter is the point that forms origin of a circle in which all three vertices of the triangle lie on the circle. Thus the radius of the circle is the distance between the circumcenter and any of the triangle's vertex. Okay, it is found by finding the midpoint of each leg of the triangle and constructing a perpendicular. Okay, so we have, whenever the three perpendicular bisectors meet, that's when we have a circumcenter, and it's located such that it's equidistant from the vertices of the triangle. Okay, that was our second one. We saw circumcenter and it was associated with the perpendicular bisector. Then we saw orthocenter. Orthocenter is the center of a triangle created from the finding altitude of each side. It's a point of intersection of the three altitudes of the triangle. The altitudes of triangle is created by dropping the line from each vertex that is perpendicular to the opposite side. Okay, an altitude of triangle is sometimes called the height. Remember, the altitude of triangle do not go through the midpoints of the legs unless you have a special triangle like equilateral triangle. Sometimes orthocenter will it will go through the midpoints of the legs, but some cases, majority of the cases, it will not go. It will go through the midpoints of the leg only when we have a equilateral triangle. That's what is mentioned in the last part. But however, we get orthocenter whenever three altitudes meet. Okay, and the last one was the incenter. The incenter is the last triangle center. It is a point forming the origin of a circle inscribed inside a triangle, like centroid. The centroid is always inside a triangle. It is constructed by taking the intersection of angle bisectors of the three vertices of a triangle. So whenever we have three angle bisectors, the angle bisectors are the bisectors which divide the angles into two equal halves. So this dashed line is angle bisector, this dashed line is angle bisector, and this dashed line is angle bisector. At the point of an intersection of three angle bisectors is incenter. And the property of incenter is that the location is such that it's equidistant from the side. So this distance from this to this particular side is same as incenter to this particular side, and from incenter to this particular side. as the distance from in center to each of the side is equal, we can construct a circle inside. Okay, so we saw this. We'll go back to slides. Okay, we saw what were the triangle centers and special points. We had four of them, four centers and four special segments. Let's see the next slide. Uh, that will be it for today's class. I know Unit 5 review is there on the hub. I want you all to work asynchronously on the Unit 5 review. Already answer keys are displayed, so you don't have to turn that particular work. I expect you all to work asynchronously on that, as we'll be having Unit 5 test in the next class period. Okay, so you have rest of the class time to work asynchronously on the Unit 5 review.